Hello, my name's Colin Campbell, I'm with Polygon. You're looking at Bounds, which is coming out on PlayStation 4 this week. We reviewed it on Polygon today. You can read the review by following the link that just flashed up. As you can see, this is a platform game, and in many respects it's a standard platform game, but there is something special about it, and that's this character and her lovely animations. Would you look at that? The game is about dancing. But it's also about a bunch of other stuff. It's about art, it's about life, it's about love. But I'm not going to get too much into that because it would reveal too much of the story. I urge you to play the game. But let's first of all just kind of talk about the basic mechanics of it. As you can see here, you control the camera for most of the game, and you control the character as she moves around this spectacular, gorgeous world. There are very simple puzzles. This isn't a game that's going to challenge you in the way of some of the great platform games. It's more of a journey through a world, and you can kind of decide how you want to make your moves. I'm going to stop here just to give you a little bit of the sense of the story, just for a minute. So there are a lot of very simple archetypes at play in the story here. The monster, the queen, the princess, and she goes about and she deals with this monster as she comes across it, and deals with its kind of minions and the dangers in the world, which we'll show you some of those later on. But you've got these tentacles that sort of are whispering in the corridors. You've got these sort of bee-like characters that menace the dancer. But to be honest, none of them are actually they're not actually fatal. They're annoying more than anything. And the way that you get through them is simply by making some dance moves. And later on in the video, you'll see a few of the dance moves that she has. She has your basic dance moves, which you just use pressing the basic buttons, and then you have more advanced dance moves that you use placing the R2 button as well as some buttons. But really, I think one of the points I made, as much as I love this game, one of the points I made in the review was that there aren't really enough dance moves in order to fully express yourself as a dancer. There's a part of the game where there are parts of the game which are so inspiring and lovely that I wanted to kind of kick off my shoes and just dance around in different areas, but I didn't feel as if there was enough of a kind of creative palette there available for me to do that. And you can see a little bit here where I'm just sort of like going through the motions early in the game and getting a feel of some of the dance moves and trying to put them together in a kind of choreography. And it's interesting when you think about traditional game mechanics and how they're built. If you play an open world combat game, for example, you're going to start off with a couple of moves and you're going to learn how to kill the bad guys, and then as you go further and further into the game, you're going to become more and more powerful and you're going to get more and more moves. And as tired as that construct is, I sort of wish that Bounds had given us more moves so that you could really let yourself fly. Having said that, I think that many of you will play this game and will find ways to be creative with the moves that are given to you, the moves that you get as you stand still, the moves that you get as you're moving across a beam, the moves that you get when you're running or pressing R2, as in when you're being attacked here. And there are other opportunities to really express yourself in the game when you've completed it. And I haven't had a chance to do this yet, but when you've completed it, you can go on some speed runs. And as you saw there is a way to die, which is just to fall off the platforms, but it's not a great penalty. You just come alive straight away again. This is a game that wants you to explore the spaces that it has created for you. This lovely world, and you can see that seething, bubbling mass of energy beneath you that offers a backdrop. And it's really kind of menacing and psychological and very, very clever. And once you get into this game, you start to see the depths of it from a narrative point of view, because you know, there's more going on here than meets the eye. I don't want to give too much away, but you know, suffice to say that this is a psychological construct. It's something that's going on in the mind of another player character, and it links back to very human responses, very human emotions, and in that respect, this is a game that speaks to anybody who sort of loves those sort of narrative, emotional games like Journey, that sort of allow you to go through worlds, to experience worlds without really asking that much of you. It kind of asks that you participate. It doesn't ask that you conquer, it doesn't ask that you master the controls. It simply says, here is this world, here is this emotional journey, and we ask that you come along with it. It's interesting that it's been developed by Plastic Studios, along with Sony Santa Monica, who have worked with developers on interesting little games. I say little games, but interesting games like Hohokum and Everybody's Gone to the Rapture. And Sony, to give them their credit, when they've come out with some of these PlayStation exclusives, PlayStation 4 exclusives, they've really opened up their wallets, I guess, but also their minds and their hearts to games that have something interesting to say. And we saw Abzu, for example, coming out earlier this month, which is another game that I really enjoyed. And here you can see some of the sort of enemies that really are more of an excuse for creative endeavor, because I wasn't very good here. Because, well, you know, once you get used to them, you understand that the trick is to kind of move forward as you're putting together these dance moves. But here I was just kind of testing them out and trying to get a feel for how the dance moves and the enemies interacted with one another. And if you kind of leave her alone, or if she starts to lose against the baddies, she starts making these slightly annoying screaming noises. So it really is best to kind of move on and to explore these new spaces. Now, the world, it looks like something out of an art gallery. It is as lovely as it looks. There is a sort of sameness about it. There are various chapters within the game that you explore, but also there is a diversity here. Once you get used to it, after the first 2 or 3 levels, I was kind of going, oh, this all seems a bit the same. They're changing some of the color palettes, they're changing some of the shapes, but actually by the time I was on like chapter 5 and 6 and getting towards the end of the game, I was really starting to appreciate the beauty, the loveliness, and also the originality of, you know, you see here this kind of playfulness with angles, with shapes, with perspectives, and there's a lot of that goes on. So the game is really more about what you see and what you journey through, rather than how you get through the game. Because honestly, the puzzles are really quite simple. It reminded me of Firewatch in a way, in that you kind of, all the puzzle is just sort of moving around in an area and figuring out the exit. You know, that's about it really, and you just move forwards. But all the time, with that very simple mechanic, it's giving you these interesting shapes, these interesting ideas. But what I have to come back to again and again with the game is this lovely character, her moves, the convincing way that her body moves, how beautifully you can see that they've worked with dancers on creating this game, that her character animations are so lovely. Here she is interacting with this ribbon, and it kind of, you know, the Olympics are on right now, and it kind of made me feel like those marvelous gymnasts who we see working in Rio de Janeiro at the moment. So this is one of those not very long games that I played. I played it in an evening and a morning, and when I went back to sort of edit this video, I was like, I was remembering how much I liked this game, how much I really enjoyed it, despite those criticisms that I put in the review that I mentioned to you earlier on about the sort of limitations of the mechanics, which is all a bit video gamey and not that relevant really when you think about how you feel at the end of this, how I felt anyway, which was I felt emotionally satisfied. I felt as if this game had depths to it that I hadn't even explored, and I want to go back and play some more of the game to figure out how this character interacts with the other character that I mentioned earlier on, with the world that she's in, with the monster, with the queen, and with the sort of narrative that is revealed to you as you go through the world. So Bound is coming out on PlayStation 4. I really recommend it. I think it's one of those great little games that you're gonna, if you love art, if you love sort of emotional storytelling, you're gonna be into it. If you like a challenge and you're really only interested in kind of conquering worlds, there's nothing wrong with that. But this isn't that game, I don't think. It's not the sort of thing that is going to sort of take up 40 hours of your life like No Man's Sky. So please, I hope you'll go to Polygon, and read my review, and obviously read the other reviews that we have for video games. This is Bound, coming out this week on PlayStation 4 from Plastic Studios, and I'll say that again, Sony Santa Monica.